What is going on? This is Michael Hacker with the Hacker Outdoors podcast. Joey is still in Myrtle and will be joining us today from the Fortress of Solitude. We also have on our next guest, Brian Hacker, the other half of Hacker Brothers Adventures. We've pivoted a bit today and talk with Brian about surf travel and his dream destinations. Please let us know what you think and leave a review, and hopefully we'll get Brian back on more often as we expand our reach to other guests. Without further ado, I present Brian and Joey. Brian, thank you for joining the Hacker Outdoors podcast. I said in the intro that you're the other half of the Hacker Brothers Adventures, so it's been a while since we've done a little bit more than sporadic adventuring. I figured it was a good opportunity to get you on and talk a little bit about surf travel and kind of dream destinations for surfing. So welcome.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Michael. I'm glad to be part of the other half of Hacker Outdoors and Hacker Brothers travel and whatnot. I was really looking forward to jumping on after watching, your past few with Joe McCormack, who's going to be on shortly as well, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you.
Yeah.
Where to start?
So Joe's actually texting. So he just got back from a nice little bass outing. So he's making sure all the swamp animals are off of him, I guess. So we'll give him a few. He'll join when he's ready, and that's fine. So Brian, you've been surfing for, gosh, pretty much your entire adult life, right?
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about how you got into it and what made you get into surfing.
So, funny enough, I'm not one of those people that started at a young age, as and we'll get into your story, I'm sure, eventually as well. But you, my brother Michael, and your best friend at the time and one of my good friends now, Bob LaCorey, took me out probably when I was, I would say, 17.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a classic, New Jersey summertime swell day with perfect A-frames, 4-foot, offshore wind. Actually, I don't think there's any wind. I think it was glassy. And that was the first time I ever went. And then from there, I was hooked. I knew I wanted to do this forever and keep doing it as much as I can and kind of shape my life from there.
No, that's a good. I remember that day, and I remember the subsequent days of trying to get people involved. Right, it's difficult when you're an adult and you try and get into things. And you and I, we obviously brothers. We came from the same background. When you don't do something as a kid and you started as an adult or almost as an adult, it's like it's a whole different animal, right? Yeah. And I remember watching Point Break as kids with you, and we were always like, man, we want to do that one day.
Yeah, we'd watch it. We watched Point Break. It was actually on Channel 11, WB 11, whatever it was back when we were kids, and they would play that Point Break movie twice a year on Memorial Day weekend and on Labor Day weekend. And we would always make sure we were home for when it was on TV because we didn't have an actual, physical copy of it. And it was always fun watching. I kind of, it transformed into something I do as an adult. Every year I watch it twice a year, usually on Memorial Day and Labor Day weekends. So,
yeah, and that aligns nicely, right, with the James Bond marathons around Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? So it's
absolutely. Still have that
yeah,
going.
yeah, me too. When Donna falls asleep on the couch before me, when we're watching TV late at night or whatever, I always put on a Bond movie and try and work my way through them incrementally, especially this time of year. I think it's but like you, I've tried to do Point Break twice a year, and I honestly have slacked, I'd say, since moving here. 5 years, right? Like maybe once a year I'll get around to it. And usually I don't even have to finish it. Like I'll fast
Yeah.
forward to a scene or like, advance to a scene that I like and just watch it and, get really excited about it and move on. But
as long as you see the scene where Bodhi does the layback barrel ride, I think you made the movie as far as you need to see it, because that scene is the scene that got me wanting to surf in the first place.
yeah, that's definitely one of the prime scenes. And then of course I like the whole skydiving thing, right? That's one of the main reasons why I went skydiving and love doing it so much. But man, what a movie. And we talked a little bit, and we talk a lot about actually doing things as adults. And you started touching on it before and getting into things. And I think it's so hard to fathom trying something new the older you get, right? Like we're not as nimble as we used to be. We're not these, to quote Point Break, slaughtered, of course. We're not some rubbery little, teenagers anymore, right? We're like, we wake up in the morning and we're hurting a bit. But um, mostly everything that we do today, we started together and we started pretty much as adults. So that's from um, snowboarding
Mm-hmm.
to surfing to
Mm-hmm.
fly fishing to, I mean, we always fished, but we never fly fished until adulthood, right? Um, I think there's a barrier of entry that people forget and that they get nervous about, right? Like you think you need all these tools, and I listen to a lot of podcasts and read a lot about things, and they always talk about, you need all this equipment to do all these different things, and it's like you really don't. I mean, in the early days, we had one surfboard and we would go and we would take turns. And there were days where we brought other people too. I remember bringing Sufi. I remember bringing, John. I remember bringing a bunch of different people, and we would all just hang out on the beach and uh, wait our turn, right? Um,
Yeah.
the barrier of entry wasn't there because one of us had broken through that barrier and wanted to share it with everybody else who
Yeah.
now, for the most part, is really into it. But that brings us to the point. So, you get to a certain point of surfing, right? And what made you want to travel and surf? I mean, is that part of the evolution of it?
Absolutely. So, being an East Coast and furthermore a Northeast Coast surfer, being from New Jersey, uh, we only probably get a month or so of you know surfing and just board shorts. So everybody, when you're a surfer, you need to surf as much as you can in board shorts. That's what everyone wants, and in the tropics. So there's a few integral trips that come with surfing and surf travel that everyone always thinks of, and it kind of relates to me, in my opinion, to the surf cinema. So a big part of surfing is where do you get where do you get your inspiration from? And the early days before social media, we would watch surf videos and surf films, and you'd see all these far fetched places, and kind of develop your thirst for travel and thirst for wanting to try those specific waves. And you know, the first place I saw um, was in a movie, or memorably was in a movie, The Endless Summer 2, and that was Witches Rock, Costa Rica. And so I knew I wanted to go to Costa Rica right away, and I was like, okay, these waves look so fun to me. As a young new surfer, the people talk about the Reef Pass locations in Hawaii and the Mentawai Islands and all the different places, and those seemed one step out of reach for me at that point in my surfing career. And that's why I was more interested in the sand bottom spot as first place I wanted to travel to.
Yeah, and that's, which is rock, right? I mean, that's pretty iconic at this point, not just
Yeah.
because of that. Didn't they visit that in that, what was it, that Jack Johnson September sessions? They went to Witches Rock, right?
No,
Did they
no,
go to
no.
Witches Rock?
That was that was only in they only went to the Mentawai Islands in that film.
Oh, right. What I'm thinking is something
There's
else
a
that I
bunch of
saw that
other where
is in
they went.
Witches Rock, but that was a great flick too, man.
Yeah,
September sessions really. I mean, that was a time frame that you and I were really getting
absolutely.
into it.
That's my adult thirst is to go to Mentawais and with the boys and stay on the island of one of the islands or take a boat trip.
Well, let's
Um,
let's come back to that for a minute because I think that would be cool to talk about kind of dream destinations. But so you had this dream of going to Witches Rock in Costa Rica over actually going to Hawaii or going to some of these other rocky or reef bottom locations. How long did it take you to get there? How long after, kind of putting it in your head did you get there, and what was that process like for you?
Let me pause you right there, and we'll
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can. So when I guess I was 19. A friend of mine was starting shaping surfboards, and I had him shape me a board. And then when he shaped me the board, I started surfing with him and his friends. And this is actually old friend of yours as well, Michael, Chris Kirk. And in surfing with his whole crew of surfers, for that first it was winter and spring actually when I first really got into it. So I had to buy 5 mil wetsuit and jumped right into the lines den with this, surfing big winter swells when I was first really getting into it, get my ass kicked. But they planned a trip to Costa Rica, and Bobby LaCory and I got invited to go because they needed 2 more people. Now I won't. Should I spot name in this? I don't know if I should.
No.
Probably not.
So is this? We try our hardest not to
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah, you can't drop spots.
And ladies and gentlemen, there's Joey McCormack, fresh from the bayous of South Carolina. He's joined us as well. Yeah, but definitely don't spot, bro.
Of course. So I'll never do this, especially local here in Jersey. We were talking about spots and whatnot. But so we end up on it's a pretty well known beach now. 12 years later. But back then it wasn't. So basically we jumped in this trip. It was already planned, and I think we were leaving within 2 weeks. Which most of my trips are planned that way, by the way, when it comes to surf trips.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later.
Gotta watch the waves.
Yeah. But so we jumped in, and within a week we were flying out to San Jose, and from there it was it was interesting. So basically I didn't fly with a board my first time because I was pretty new at surfing and surf travel, so I figured I'd just rent a board down there and kind of figure out find my feet while I'm down there.
Yeah.
So we fly in with I didn't know 3 of the 6 people we went with, so which is also can be a trip on a trip when you're traveling for over 7 days with somebody to the jungles, and it was fun. But we meet these people in the airport, and two of the guys were coming from New York, and they it was I think it was a 3 a.m. flight or 4 a.m. flight or something like that, and we all get there, we all convene, and we all kind of just give each other head nods in the middle of the night, and we all end up sitting next to each other and hanging on the airplane and getting to know each other a little bit. But when we get there, we had to drive, I think it was 6 hours from San Jose to where we were going.
Yeah, that's a wild ride, right? Because you got to go where you're going up and around. Yeah.
Yep. Up and down the volcanoes and mountains and on the cliff rides. And this is pre-development. So before they had all the contracts to redo all the roads in Costa Rica, so everything, was all dirt and rocks and fallouts. And it was an interesting ride. But when we got to where we were going, it was late because, 6 hours, during the rainy season. So the roads were, certain roads you couldn't go down and whatnot. And so when we got there, it was thunderstorming. And we're in the middle of the jungle trying to find a house we rented in the middle of, it was actually, I would say right on the beach, just on the other side of they have.
On the beach, man.
Yeah. In Costa Rica, most areas have a rule where you can go, you can't build within a certain distance of the beach.
Yeah.
So basically we were right on the other side of that area where you can't build. And it was, middle of the night, we show up, it's the middle of the thunderstorm, which, to me, it looked like Jurassic Park with giant, jungle trees and lightning bolts flashing everywhere, and you have no idea what you're doing. And, I think it was like 10 or 11 p.m. So we all got inside the house, which was beautiful, by the way. So you can, back then especially, you could rent these huge houses for nothing.
Yeah.
And we had a security guard, and that next morning we woke up. Me and Bobby woke up at like 4 a.m. and we didn't even go to the beach. We started looking for, walking around the jungle town looking for a board rental place. We found it, and somehow the guy, I don't know what he was doing. He must have woke up to go check the surf. And he's like, yeah, I'll rent boards to you. And he wasn't even open yet. So he opened the shop, rented 2 boards to us, and we went back to the house, and we were in the water before 6 a.m.
Let me ask you, what kind of shape were the boards in? The rental boards, were they pretty decent, or were they pretty banged up?
Being, what year was it? Being the early mid 2000s, the boards were pretty shot. So, but
Glass
it was
fins.
watertight. It was glass fins. I actually ended up renting 2 boards. So the first one I had, I swapped it halfway through, which they had no problem letting me do. But the first one we had, I had.
Oh God!
Dog attack. Was basically it was a swallowtail, but tri-fin, and I think it was like 6'6", and it was a nice shape. I don't remember the brand, but it was some off brand from either Europe or Italy. And
what was your thought, like you have the board, you're obviously on the beach pretty much already. Do you jump right in? So like you've been on site for what, not even 6 hours at this point?
yeah, we barely slept at that point because we get to the house, we had road sodas the whole way to the house on the drive. So
I mean, that's you need road sodas to get that courage flowing.
We were loaded. There's a famous picture of me and Bob in the back of the van we rented, with giant boxes. We had like a pallet.
Oh, I know the picture. I know the picture.
Of Imperials and Pilsens, and the Imperials. I think we got halfway through the crate we had, and it was a fun night. But so we were by the time we got to the house, we were ready to crash.
Yeah, I bet. But you're going on no sleep at this point.
Yeah.
You're probably half in the bag. Your cousin Joe partying in the South, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're about to go surf a break.
Circa 2008. Let's be
all right.
clear here.
All right, maybe even a little bit before that.
So we walk out, and straight up from the house, there's like a jungle path, which goes through a jungle, goes through a stream bed, which I will touch on later, but it goes through a stream bed, which you have to waist high and going through, which was a terrible idea in my perspective, which I'm sure you guys understand with the crocodile problem they had down there.
Yes.
And then you have to go through like a quick marsh, and then you're on the beach. And we're on the beach, and we see surfers down the beach, which is south, and we're on the north side. Is it south? No, I'm sorry. We're on the south side, so we see surfers on the north, and the peak looks okay where we were, and we're like, all right, we're not going to jump in and surf, with the crowd at this point, So we as a group, I think there's 4 of us at this point. I think 2 people slept in. We paddled out right in front of our entrance, and so we surf. We get out there. First of all, the paddle out took forever because this spot is huge, and there's a huge field of white water that you got to go through, and I have to jump off again.
Yeah, no problem, Brian. Good luck.
That's all right. Me and Michael will dance naked in front of the camera.
To be continued. So I think we'll kind of talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Joe, you've never done any travel surfing, have you? Or surf travel?
No surf travel. Didn't get to do that one. Always wanted to get down to Costa Rica or Tortola. Was a big place I wanted to go just because of the clean water and warm temperatures.
We did not like Tortola. It creeped us out to a certain extent. It was not at all what I had expected. I loved St. Thomas, but Tortola was just like, I don't know what it was. Like we were looking at waves, and there was really nothing going. My buddy went to Barbados a number of years ago, and he had a heck of a time in Barbados.
So Tortola doesn't always break. There's certain months, and you got to plan it right. But when it does, it's good, and it's good at all levels. There's entry level waves, intermediate on up to advanced. But like I said, it's not a constant break. You just really gotta be there at the right time.
Yeah, and we definitely weren't for sure, but I mean,
it's usually like anywhere else, winter. You got to be down there in the winter, and it will go off. It's maybe I shouldn't have spot drop because it's somewhat of a little bit of a secret. It's a little bit more well known now.
Yeah, we can bleep that out maybe.
Well, there's like little.
It's not like you're saying an actual. You're not saying a spot.
Yeah,
you're
I'm not
going
to say spots, but
we Brian and I always talk about these spots off the coast, right? We say that, like out off of the coast of California, you have these very famous deep water spots,
Yeah.
and we say there has to be places like that here along the East Coast that just nobody knows about.
Oh, they're what's his name? Brian would know the guy's name. Ben Grady was just out in Oregon with him or surfing big waves. I forget the guy's name, but he surfed a wave like that up off the coast of, was it Massachusetts or was it way up Long Island? Like out there, a big, huge break where it's deep
Yeah.
water to shallow, like huge wave. Um, they're there. You just got to find them.
Well, and that's the thing too, is the waves like that, they only hit at certain times
Uh
and
huh.
right conditions. But there was one in, I'm not going to drop it, but there's one in New England, we'll say, and when it hits, it hits. I saw a
Yeah.
video of it years ago, and I have not seen anything again. But I'm not a big wave surfer guy. I respect those who do it. I'm not trying to lose life or limb trying to get that adrenaline pumping. I think Brian would disagree. I think he'd probably, do
I
some
don't know,
of
dude.
that.
Some of those 30-foot faces, 40-foot faces where they're towing in. I mean, that is that can be scary stuff. Well, there's like that spot. If you remember the movie Step Into the Liquid,
Oh yeah,
that's that spot off the California coast. What is it? Cortez's Bank, I think it's called.
yeah.
I haven't heard about that place breaking a lot lately. Maybe Brian would know better if it has, but that was a spot there for a while where, it was breaking and they were getting huge swells, but I haven't seen a lot of footage of it lately.
Yeah,
It's, those big wave guys, they track the storms and, they look at their maps and, like Nazareth or Nazarene, however you say it, and just
Nazarene.
playing
Yeah,
around that. Yeah. Yeah. My stepfather and his mother went to Nazarene 2 years ago. They were there. And when you actually see, because they went up on that, I think it's a lighthouse, and you see the pictures of how high that is and where the shore is. I mean, it really puts in perspective how huge it gets there. I mean, nuts. That place is
ah,
out of control.
jeez. Yeah,
I mean, just like Jaws. I mean, in Hawaii, I mean, it will break real quick and it comes and goes, as quick as it happens.
well, did you see this guy, Rob Kelly? Brian sent it to me, a Stab article. Rob Kelly Surf might have won this year's XXM award, East Coast United States of America. 99.9% sure that's here in Jersey.
Hmm.
What a wave, man. And this was what, December 1st that was posted.
Yeah.
So, we get them. And I'm
Oh, yeah.
sure they're up and down the coast. It's just, in these deep water spots too,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like when we were striper fishing, me and the nephews, we were watching these waves just coming in. They were far enough out there where if I was surfing, I'd be like, I probably wouldn't paddle to that. That is a long way to go to get out to those waves that were breaking. But
Well, for
Army
years,
Corps,
Jersey was kind of like a hidden gem. People didn't know how amazing the surf gets there. In the past couple of years, it's definitely been put on the map. But I mean, what was it, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago? They had a massive swell, and Kelly Slater was out there with the guys. I mean,
yeah.
some of those waves they were getting were just bombs, absolute bombs. Uh-oh. Did we lose B?
He's just not on video or audio at the moment. He is presently predisposed with other, we'll say, activities that are going on.
Yeah.
And then, of course, your video's gone now, Joe.
Oh,
There we go. So, yeah, I remember that. I remember the Kelly Slater thing, and we have Sam
that
Hammer
storm.
here, and
Oh, yeah, Hammer, Ben Gravy. I mean, you got Kelly, Rob Kelly. I'm forgetting the other guy's name. There's a whole bunch of them. Just rippers, absolute rippers. I
yeah.
mean,
Well, there back
Jamie
back in the
O'Brien was
day,
out there last winter and just caught the good swell. I mean, Jersey definitely gets the swell, man.
yeah, when
And
we get it, but we have enough
like I said
coastline.
before in other episodes, the Jersey Shore is thought of one way and it's really the other, in my opinion.
Yeah, but when we get the swells right, we have the coastline to hit all different types. I won't spot burn, but I remember, one of my first I'll call it winter surfing experience. It was intense, man. Right along a pier, and it, I mean, the number of guys out there was just insane. And I was newbie, like, right? I was low on the pecking order. I was not dropping in on anybody. I was not, taking spots away from anyone on the lineup. And uh, watching these guys out there do their thing, um, you know, it, I don't know who they were, but these guys could really rip it. And um, throughout the years, just watching these pros come out here and just do their thing as well. And they do it in Long Island, right? They'll do it up and down the coast, but um, I don't know. I just hopefully the Army Corps of
So,
Engineers don't destroy it too much.
no, but if you watch the famous '80s movie, The North Shore,
Yeah.
at the end of it, oh my God, I'm blanking on what this character's name is going back to New York for art school, and they give him a surfboard, and he's like, "Man, I can't take that to where I'm going. There's no waves." Meanwhile, there is waves in New York. People, it definitely gets serious surf, but I think that's because people, they associate surfing with warm weather, but in all reality, the best swells come in the winter, and that's throughout the world. You go to the North Shore in the summer, it's flat. I mean, sure they'll
Yeah.
get waves occasionally, but they're not getting that surf you see. I mean,
Yeah.
that's now. That happens from the big rush in the North Shore starts before Halloween and lasts through February. I mean, Pike Masters is going on right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Brian keeps texting me about that every day. Hey, you watching? I don't have for some reason, the World Surf League's app is not
Well,
on my Android TV.
you can watch it on Facebook Live through the
Oh, no
World
way.
Surf League site. Yeah, that's what I usually do.
That's good to know. And for the record, you're talking specifically about Rick, the character from there,
Yeah, correct.
from North Shore. That was a great movie. If none of you have seen that, please do yourself a favor.
That's
It's
Big Wednesday with Gary Busey. Number one. Have you seen that?
no, I haven't. I know what you're talking about though.
Find Big
Yeah,
Wednesday or whatever streaming service you use and watch Big Wednesday. Your life will change.
adding this
It's
to the list.
I'm amazing. I'm sure B's seen Big Wednesday. Yeah, just
Oh no,
Gary.
no, I have seen this. All right, I didn't forget Gary Busey's in that, man. Holy cow!
And he actually surfed too. That was actually him surfing. Gary Busey can surf. Little known fact.
This is a long man. That's just bringing
Rick
it back.
Kane. I mean, he's no Rick Kane from the Arizona wave pool, but Gary
No,
can hold his own.
no.
It's kind of crazy to see where wave pool surfing's came since the good old North Shore.
Yeah. So, Joe, tell us a little bit about. We'll interject in here into other things. So, tell us a little bit about your bass fishing palooza today.
Oh well, we went into the wilds of South Carolina, the Waccamaw River.
The
Absolutely
wilds.
gorgeous. The wilds. You feel like you're in the wilds. It's was it National Refuge? Is that National
Yeah.
Refuge? Absolutely beautiful and packed full of history. And there's huge bass in there. People when they think South Carolina, they think Santee Cooper and other lakes, but this river system down here definitely holds them. I mean, they're there and they're big. The Bassmaster Elite Series has had several events out of Winyah Bay, which they would be fishing that river, the Waccamaw, or they can go down to Santee Cooper, and they're in there. We were out there today. I think the water temperature was still 62, 64 in the river. Some spots are a little bit warmer.
Well, tell if you can jump in. You and I had a phone call a little bit earlier, and you were telling me about how because it's cold, the alligators are hibernating, and
So,
because of that, you guys, not that you were going to, but the hunting of alligators does not occur when it's too cold because they're harder to get. Now, I had
well, I
no
also
idea
think
that.
there's a season on them too.
Oh, there's an alligator season.
I believe so. There's a time when you can. I think it ends in October. He said, but this time of year when it gets cold out, um, they'll do like a quote unquote type of hibernation where they'll go dig themselves like into the mud up on the banks to keep warm. Like dig like a hole in the mud. But like he said, Sunday, I think it's supposed to be in the low 70s. When it warms up like that, they will come out. But when it gets cold, he said they're very lethargic and very almost approachable. They're so just, ugh.
Now,
But
would you ever approach an alligator? Let's be honest.
hell no. He was telling me how they hunt them down here, and it was the balls craziest thing I've ever heard. Absolutely balls crazy how they hunt these
Well,
things.
let's come back to that because Brian's rejoining us. So for everyone who has stuck with Joe's southern adventure story,
Well, I think I got
we'll,
chiggers.
we'll come back to that. So Brian, you were in Costa Rica. You're getting to the lineup, and you're we'll say a novice surfer at this point, right?
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
what's going through your head? And this is a spot you've never been to before. What are
Yeah.
you
So
what are you
on the
doing?
paddle out, the one tip someone gave me was like, shuffle your feet when you're walking on the inside. And
We're
that's
down here.
because
We call that the old stingray shuffle.
exactly, Joe knows. And funny enough, I know so many years later that guy actually got tagged by a stingray and had to go to the emergency room at the same spot I was at. It's a friend's, I think it was a friend's sister. But so that was my first thought. Second thought was, this paddle out is taking forever, and I had to duck dive a gajillion times to get out there. And by the time I got out there, my arms were dead because you surf in Jersey, like you quick paddle out, you're out in the lineup. You might duck dive twice, and depending on how cold it is, it kind of
Yeah.
changes the how hard the paddle out is or how big the waves are. But regardless, it's not like nothing compares. So I get out there, and it was a solid south swell day in Central America. So it had to be double overhead, and I was just a buoy for an hour, just trying to catch my breath. And I don't know if any of the guys even got any waves. I think Gene from Essence Surf, Eugene Wall. I think he got a bunch of waves that day, like after we
Madman.
settled in. And he's the one who'll set out the back and wait for the biggest ones to roll through, and that carries through to Hawaii, which we'll get to the stories about Hawaii at another time, I'm sure. But he yeah, so that first session, I was just a buoy. I think I went on 2 waves, got to my feet, maybe went over the falls, and that was pretty much it. That was pretty much it.
Huh. Wow. So you went back to Costa Rica one more time and you've gone on to Hawaii, like you said.
Yeah,
We're trying to keep these episodes a little bit truncated.
of
That's
course.
some of the feedback we've received. But can you tell us a little bit about what are your dream destinations for surf trips? I mean,
Oh yeah. So
we recently read the William Finnegan book, right? Barbarian Days of Surf, and it kind of rekindled that lust for travel. But where are you thinking of? Where is your top place that you would like to go to, and why?
so I have two on. I would say three on my mind that are consistently there. No, like the big ones in my head are the Maldives and the Mentawais Islands. And the Maldives are, it's more of a luxury trip. So you get to stay in a 5-star, accommodations, and
Bring the wife along. Yeah.
exactly, you're sitting in laps of luxury, and then you just so happen to have a world-class wave that you get to jump on a shuttle to. The other one is the Mentawais, which would be a fantastic trip with the boys. You go on a boat trip, or you go to the Kandui Resort or one of those resorts that are out there, P-Pass or wherever it is, and you park and you surf. It's literally Disneyland for surfers.
Favorite surf
That's
are these two. Favorite surf movie: Big Wednesday or North Shore?
Ooh, it's tough. See, like
Gary Busey.
if you want fun and campy, you're gonna watch North Shore. But if you're gonna watch like legitimate earning your stripes surf movie, you're watching Big Wednesday. Big Wednesday reminds me of here in Jersey. Like I remember having my first legitimate hurricane surf session when I really kind of figured out surfing, and I was able to really get good waves. And I remember like having that kind of feeling and thinking about Big Wednesday of when that final scene when he surfs Big Wednesday on the final day at the reef. I remember thinking to myself, like, that I'm there now. I get it. I know how to surf, and I can negotiate a big day where it's maxing out Jersey, where you got to dodge the closeout sets and the outsiders, and the ones that swing a little wide. And it's I like Big Wednesday too. I don't know which one I like better.
Big Wednesday for me. I mean, you got the Maticus. You got Gary Busey. I mean,
No,
you can't.
Gary Busey. That's all you need to know.
He's a madman.
That was actually him surfing in that movie. People don't know he can actually.
No, yeah,
surf.
he shreds.
He shreds.
He still surfs Malibu, I heard.
Does he really?
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking of him in Entourage, right? His crazy character, right?
Which was in Malibu.
Which is in Malibu, yeah. And he was an artist, and I think he is actually an artist. Gary Busey, man. Yeah, Big Wednesday.
Movie. He's an absolute madman in that too.
Well, Brian, we appreciate you jumping on, man, and we're sorry you had to take care of some other engagements, we'll say, in the midst here. So we'll definitely have you back on, and we would love to chat with you a little bit more about some of our other wonderful hobbies, maybe a little bit of snowboarding. Joey has a lot to talk about as far as that goes as well. I see him smiling at me. Montana. Yeah. So thank you, bro. Montana.
All right, guys.
Joe,
All right, buddy.
Joe, Brian,
Audio.
Thanks for joining us, man. Have a good night, everyone, and a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
You as well.
I touched a lot of Spanish moss, so
good luck with the triggers.
I don't think I got any, but you never know.
Don't do it. No, highly do not recommend ever getting them. It is horrendous.
Well, if this was a rated R show, I could tell you what my boater said today. We'll leave that for another day.
We'll leave that for private conversation. All right, boys. Much love.
All right,
later.
All right. Bye. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks,
Joe. Bye. All right, so that was the Hacker Outdoors podcast with Joey McCormack. If you liked what you heard, please give us a rating on whatever platform you are listening to or watching this on. Please check out the show notes below for some links about the topics we discussed today. So I thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll talk again next week. Take care.